Afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabina, and today I have with me Ms. Douyon, one of the leading women politicians in Haiti. And today we'll be talking about what exactly is going on in Haiti, the implications, and also the goal of the movement. So to start off, thank you again, Ms. Douyon, for agreeing to be here with me. It's a pleasure. It's always good to have people that are at the front line and talk with them about what's going on. But also as a woman in politics, I wanted to connect with you and to talk more about what's going on. So please introduce yourself. What do you do and what kind of organizations you're involved with?
Thank you, Mr. Ville. It's my pleasure to do this today. Like you said, my name is Emmanuela Douyon. I am an activist, but I'm also an economist, like policy specialist. I work on this side with Policity, a think tank that I founded. I'm the executive director of Policity now, and I'm also an activist. As an activist, I am part of a collective of engaged citizens. We are working in the struggle against corruption and impunity in Haiti. The name of the collective is Nou Pap Dòmi. I'm a member of Nou Pap Dòmi, and I've been involved in the Faithful Challenge movement, the movement for accountability, for more than 2 years now. We started in 2018.
Okay, thank you. And so the goal of, as an activist, you're involved with Nou Pap Dòmi and is fighting corruption, like you mentioned. So what is the goal of the organization right now in terms of what's going on? What kind of work that the organization is doing currently?
The flagship project is the Petro Caribe trial. We are asking for a fair trial because I don't know, some people may not know what the Petro Caribe corruption scandal is. Back in the days, in early 20, Venezuela allocated some money to Haiti. Basically, we were allowed to buy oil at a discounted price and then use some more part of the money to fund development project in Haiti. But what happened is that there were like cases of money embezzlement in that Petro Caribbean fund. Some of the projects didn't even, they never realized some of the projects. And when they realized them, it wasn't like they were supposed to do it. And since we witnessed this scandal and we were at a point where we wanted money to fund development program in Haiti, we couldn't find it. And then people were questioning what happened with the Petro Caribbean money. And back in 2018, when the government decided to cut the subvention on the oil price, people got on the street, 3 days of riots, violent riots. This kind of event kind of make everyone realize that something needed to be done. And we've been launching the Petro Caribe Challenge. Nou Pap Dòmi was created in December 2018 to keep pushing for the challenge to ask where is the Petro Caribe money and who is going to be judged, who is going to face charge for this waste, the mismanagement of this fund. And we've been doing this in 2018, but in the meantime, we've been also fighting against impunity. Massacres occurred and nothing happened. So besides Petro Caribe, the corruption scandal, we are also talking about accountability. We are also asking for justice for those who were victims of the Marsalin massacre and the other massacres that happened after that massacre. And to put things into context, I have to mention that when the Marsalin massacre occurred, it was between two big demonstrations that were part of the Petro Caribe Challenge. And this is how it occurred. And this is how it happened. It happened. And then it was, there were like three reports that showed how government officials were involved in what happened. Yet those people were like, they are still living their life in Haiti. They didn't face any charge for this. And you have all this And for years, we've been asking for the president to step down because the first report from the Court of Auditors showed that he was involved in the mismanagement of the Petro-Caribbean Fund. Therefore, Nou Pap Dòmi asked him to resign. So did many other civil society organizations. He never did, and he stayed in power, and the economic situation kept getting worse. Same for the social situation, and the political crisis is worsening. Now in 2021, what happened is that on February 7, 2021, his term ended. And the article in the Constitution that proved that his term ended is the same article that he used to dismantle the parliament a year before. But he doesn't want to vacate office. He stay here, and he is publishing decrees. He is creating security like that intelligence agency that has so much power, and this is threatening civil liberty, and it's also a threat to human rights because the way that agency is the setup is like you cannot even pursue them. You don't know who is in this agency. You don't know who will come to your house if they come. This is really crazy. And what we're seeing is that there is an authoritarian drift. Slowly, we're really living democracy. I would say there is even a collapse of democracy in Haiti now because what happened is that you have one president who is ruling by decree alone, no parliament. The judiciary system is under control. He forced retirement upon three Supreme Court judges. He arrested one of them. He was in prison. And you have the police, who is like the institution is in deep trouble now. Five police officers were killed in a in a in an operation that they conducted at Village de Dieu. Obviously, it wasn't well planned, and there wasn't enough effort to secure the life of those police officers. And unfortunately, now we have like five police officers, and they were dead, and their parents cannot find their body. This is like really sad.
Yeah.
And since the beginning of the year, and even more and more after February 7, which is the date when the president term ended, we've had demonstration on the street almost every Sunday asking for the president to vacate office, asking for the end to the kind of dictatorship that he's trying to install in Haiti. And pretty much this is what's going on. And the civil society organization and political actors are asking for a transitional government. And they expect that with a transitional government, we will be able to fight the proliferation of gangs, have stability and security to organize peaceful elections, and restore democratic order. If you have more question on what I just said, because it was a lot, is
Yeah.
that
Yes. So I've heard of the Petro Caribe scandal with the money, the funding is not going to the people, and I think it's interesting that Nou Pap Dòmi is kind of doing that work because sometimes things move along. Some people are now with the movement of what's going on in Haiti. So I think it's interesting that that work is still going on. But it's also unfortunate that the Haitian people have been testing since since I guess the president was in office about the money, the Petro-Caribe money, and then the La Saline massacre. And the people don't want him. And it's kind of like the Haitian people already experience what um, authoritarianism is or dictatorship is, and having him on that and not answering to the people and not using the same article that he used to let go of the parliament while also supposed to allow for peaceful transition of power is also interesting to me that he's allowed so many people to die violently because the gangs are killing people fully every day. So as to that, what is the, I guess, the objective of the movement? Like, what are we trying to accomplish at the end, or what are the steps to that movement? Is the first step to have President, ancien President Jovenel, to resign and to step down? And the next step, what is that next step after?
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a very interesting question, and I think I need to answer in two parts. There is that the short-term goals, and there are like the long-term goals. And also I have to mention that it evolved, and there is also one part of the movement that I forgot to mention is the Free Haiti. And
Okay.
even if there are less tweets using the Free Haiti hashtags now, but Free Haiti was like a surge, like a movement on Twitter for like where Haitian were trying to say exactly what's going on in Haiti, because there's a lot of propaganda and the government is trying to show that everything is working well, and the goal was to raise awareness on what's going on. And this bring me back to the goal of the all this movement, and it's because we want the long-term goal is systemic change. We went from asking for the people to carry the money to a fight against corruption and impunity, so a fight against social injustice. And now it's more than a call for accountability. It's a call for systemic change. People really want to get rid of this system where corruption, impunity, injustice are the norms. And what we want instead is a safe climate for Haitians to live, to prosper. We want economic development, but we understand that it gotta go through this kind of systemic change. But in the short term, as for now, what we want the president to back in office because he's staying there illegally. He applied the constitution to get for the member of parliament because, in his opinion, it was a way to get rid of the parliament, but he doesn't want to do it in his case. We want a transitional government that will be the result of a consensus between civil society organization and political parties. We want peace, security. We want free, fair, credible elections. And we believe that if we have those free, fair, credible elections, we can restore democratic order, and we can have the kind of government that we Haitian people we deserve. A government that will really achieve that systemic change that we all are asking for.
Yes, okay, great. Yeah, that's important because sometimes, even if the president would now resign, it's also important that we, the people in Haiti or in the diaspora, also think of long-term goals and long-term actions. And I applaud the civil society organizations that are thinking of systemic change. So to kind of back off on that, I think one of the um, issues that the people are fighting is the fact that the current president, the ancien president, is now trying to hold a referendum of the constitution. Can you speak about why, is it why it's wrong to have a referendum, or is it wrong to have a referendum? And I think a lot of people in the diaspora, some people want that referendum to happen because apparently, potentially, it's giving the diaspora certain rights that would be in the constitution. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Again, when it comes to the constitution, there are like so many things at stake. It's so important, and it's even more important for people in the diaspora to understand this. We have a president like de facto, like we say it in French, he's no longer president, but he refused to vacate office. Therefore, he's staying illegally in power. So we have Mr. Jovenel Moise, who is trying in a desperate attempt to stay in power to protect himself from judiciary pursuit to change the constitution. And this is exactly what he is doing. The goal is not to give people in the diaspora a chance to be involved in politics or the economy of the country. This is not the goal. The goal is to protect himself, because in the new constitution, what they are trying to implement is that there won't be a way to pursue to, like, a former president won't be able to be attacked in justice. You won't be able to sue a former president
Oh,
the
wow.
way we are writing this new constitution. And this is the goal. He knows that he's indicted in that corruption scandal, and he's trying to protect himself. But besides that, the end goal isn't to equip Haiti with a new constitution that will be easier to apply, that will solve some of the problem we have with this actual constitution. Besides the fact that this is not the goal, this is illegal, because the article 284.3 in the constitution states that any popular consultation tending to modify the constitution by referendum is formally prohibited. He cannot do it. So this is the legal aspect. The constitution itself saying you cannot modify it this way. And there is a third aspect. We are in a crisis. We are in a crisis, and this president that, you know, if we still call him president, Mr. Jovenel Moise, is decried. People are asking him to vacate office. People were asking him to step down for more than 2 years, for almost 2 years. So you have that person in power, and there is no way someone like this could have the legitimacy to change a constitution. And the fact that we are using this constitution the way it is because we had a dictatorship. And Haitian, more than 90% of the population who voted yes for this constitution, they realized that they needed to limit the power of the president. There need to be balance, to be check and balance. There need to be a way to control what a president can do. And this is exactly the kind of situation we're facing now with Jovenel Moise ruling alone, and the kind of decree he is adopting and the kind of action he is taking, arresting people on alleged accusation on accusation without with real proof. And this is exactly why the Haitian wanted to prevent years ago when they adopted this constitution. So in this crisis, with a president like this, are you going to change the constitution and expect it to solve any type of constitutional crisis? No, it doesn't make sense. You don't change a constitution in time of crisis like this. We need to be like in peace. People need to be able to have a dialogue with each other. People need to be able to comment and react to the content of this constitution, and it doesn't have to be instrumentalized by someone in power who is trying to protect himself from the justice system, because he has things to say to the judiciary system. So we cannot change a constitution like this. It doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have the same kind of problem we had with the constitution that we want to change now. And the problem is not even a constitutional problem. The fact that people do not respect the constitution, the fact that this actual president is not respecting the constitution is not because the constitution is not correct. It's because he doesn't want to.
It doesn't.
What guarantee do we have that we are going to spend all this money, change the constitution, and they are going to respect it all of a sudden?
Yeah.
There are things that they need to change first, and this is why we're asking for a new class of politicians, people who will respect the constitution. And
Yeah,
if we decide to change this constitution, it will be a solution. It will be argued. There will be debate about it, and it won't be a project of someone who wants to protect himself because of the kind of violations and the kind of actions he did in the past.
yeah. Thank you. It's crazy because he is ruling or governing the country illegally, but he also wants to change the constitution in his own favor to benefit himself, whether that is to escape justice or prosecution in the country. And also he's doing that without an active legislative body, without an active parliament. It's just, it doesn't make sense.